4th of April 2026. We are going into salary week. I'm sure a lot of people are so happy because oh my willing sing. Anyway, this is the Daily News Review program this morning where we run through the headlines and then we tackle the ones that have caught our eye this morning. We do this with our analyst this morning and she's here already. Analyst for today is Atiku. So yes, that's what is exciting for this morning. My name is Fumi Bangala. Rose isn't here this morning, so we're going to be doing this together with our analysts. You already know that we are live on YouTube at WFM917.com. You also know that you can listen to us on the go via our website, www.wfm917.com. Okay, you can start sending your text messages as you're listening to as we're running through the headlines. 0703-1756-537. Phone lines will be open shortly to make your contribution, which is very, very welcome as long as it's respectful and peaceful. Let us get into it this morning. Friday, 24th April 2026, starting off with the Punch newspaper. Atiku economists raise concern over Tinubu's $516 million loan request. When I saw this morning, I say, Azao. So they want to construct, the request is to construct the Sokoto Highway, Sokoto Badagry Highway that's going to go past Kebbi, I think Lokoja as well, quite a few states. But I was like, $560 million. That's like Nigeria is already in a hole of great debts. Want to not add this one to it? So, of course, Atiku for the opposition, economists for economy are raising concern over this. Moving on to the next headline, we have wiretapping. El Rufai pleads not guilty, faces fresh charges. When I saw this one, I say at all. So if he pleads not guilty to the wiretapping charge, and then there are now fresh charges that have been given to him. Yeah. Next up, we have the Guardian newspaper. PDP ADC kick as Supreme Court reserves judgment in leadership tussles. Next up, we have insecurity. Adeleke revives Osun Security Trust Fund, donates 300 million naira. Where did they see all this money now? Okay, moving on to the This Day newspaper. Take complaints to your state electricity regulators. NERC tells consumers. That's the headline in This Day. So if you're having electricity issues, the NERC is saying that you should go to your state electricity regulator. Don't come and miss them. Next up, we have Tinubu to governors. Our primaries must be hitch-free to preserve APC unity and cohesion. Moving on to the Daily Trust, we have 2027. Peter Obi pushes for Southeast North Alliance. That's interesting. Also on the Daily Trust, we have troop repel attack, kill 24 insurgents in Yobe. So that's good because this is one thing that we've been fighting for. When are they going to, we need to start fighting back, and that's what they're doing here. In the Vanguard newspaper, we have Benwave outrage as vigilantes beat serving NYSC. To this with our analyst for this morning. Moving on, we have Nigerian lawmakers to probe fresh. We've been seeing news tidbits of news here and there about what's going on with COVID-19 again in what's the state, that's Akwa Ibom State. So no, not Akwa Ibom, beg your pardon, in Cross River State. So shall we say in this. Next up, Nation newspaper, Ekiti 2026, PDP's Oluyede urges residents to remain hopeful. Next up, we have 2027 APC chairman, speaker, others endorse Hamzat's bid for Lagos governorship tickets. Moving on to the 2020 to the cable newspaper, Tinubu cuts domestic airlines debts by 30%. Accord rejects Imumolen's chairmanship claim, says he was expelled in 2027. That's interesting. Moving on to the Daily Post newspaper, 2027, Tinubu meets APC governors ahead of primaries. Again, in the Daily Post, we have assault on democracy. APC stakeholders frown at Ogun East's consensus move. So what happened here was, so we have a sitting senator who is Otumba Gbenga Daniel, who used to be the former governor of Ogun State. Now, some stakeholders are pitching Dapo Abiodun as their representative for the Ogun State, as to be a senator. Interestingly, we can see if you're coming on the expressway, Lagos Ibadan expressway into Lagos, there's a particular billboard that has the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It has the candidate for the 2027 governorship election for Ogun State, I think is Yaya Ibamiji. Yeah, and then we have Dapo Abiodun on that billboard. When I went on to read this article, apparently the stakeholders meeting was actually not an APC stakeholders meeting, but a senatorial caucus meeting. And Otumba Gbenga Daniel was not allowed to go in because apparently it was not something that was for him. It was a select number of people shout to be there. So we're seeing how this is unfolding because two major APC individuals are vying for the same. Do we have a call? Josephine, please, can you make sure that there's an echo? Please, can you make sure that the echo is not there? Because we're hearing an echo from Women Radio. Please, 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 can you get into that immediately? Thank you. Now, moving on to the Tribune newspaper, we have NCC orders airtime credits for poor network service. When I saw this morning, I was like, hold on. So whatever network you are, I'm not going to mention any network provider. They say that NCC has ordered airtime credits for poor network service. Now, it's one thing to order something, is another thing. Are we going to get it? Because I remember, I didn't tell you the weekend today. I remember that last week, Adetoun kept on trying. She was on, and then she was bounced off every 2 minutes. And I found that so interesting. So, are they going to give her back her data? That's the $1 million question. So yeah. Next up, Abiodun's endorsement, a kangaroo exercise, says Daniel's loyalist. If you've been listening to me, I mentioned this sort of. So there's the Otumba Gbenga Daniel loyalist, and then there's the Dapo Abiodun loyalist. Next up is the pen pushing newspaper. We have I'm now freelance politician, says Governor Bala Mohammed. Those are the that's from the pen pushing newspaper. Then lastly, in the headlines this morning, we have All Progressives Congress postpones presidential governorship primaries. Okay, those are the headlines this morning. You want to do well to get your copy, better still stick with us as we tackle the headlines I've got our eye this morning. But before then, let's welcome our analyst for this morning. Hi, Adeto, how are you?
Good morning, Fumi. Thank God it's Friday. I was actually trying to hold myself. I didn't want to interrupt you because of what happened last Friday. And just as you said, for those making that, I would say is assumptions really, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around why I was, really not happy with what happened last Friday, bouncing in and out, and I couldn't, continue the program. So I'm waiting for that network. Maybe I will send a message to them to send my data back.
Yes, so tell them that NCC has said that they should give you people your airtime back.
So I'm asking for my data, my airtime, everything back.
Yes, because yesterday my husband was on our Wi-Fi provider at home. My husband was on the phone with, I think, maybe customer service or marketing person late last night about 8 o'clock. My husband is not the kind of person that raises his voice. He's pretty chilled. But yesterday, I was hearing him speaking normally, and then next thing, instead of raising his voice, I say, So we've been having terrible network in the house for like 96 hours from what he was saying. And he was really, really, really upset yesterday. So yeah, every it is affecting everybody.
Everybody,
Okay,
yes.
let's get into it. Hope you're good, Adito. Hope you're well. How's your
Yes,
week been?
thank God it's Friday. Except that I was just going through some of the headlines during the week, and I saw where I'm still not sure if that's really something that one should brood over, because I'm still trying to find out what's brought about that if you
What
install
headline is that?
solar now, you have to get a permit. I'm seeing it all over WhatsApp. I've not
Oh
seen it in the
yeah,
headlines, so I'm still wondering. So I think that will be a topic of discussion probably later in the week or next week, because I would really want the Lagos State government to respond to that. What I'm still saying is on WhatsApp. I've not really seen an headline that says you get a permit for installing solar.
I saw that too. That
So I
doesn't
think
make it.
that's really what was tricky for me during the week. But let's see how this pans out, so that we can have enough discussion on it and why such decisions were taken. Because even if you look at it, you did not provide electricity as you should, and the thing is really affecting a lot of people. At least for a couple of months now, it's been very erratic all over. So, and then you want people to start getting permit for installing solar. I want to see how that will really pan out.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't like I'm so no I'm refusing to even pay attention to that, because you, like you already said, you cannot be serious saying that after you've
Mhm.
not provided electricity, people are now providing
Mm,
electricity. You now say they should do permits for it. Anyway, let's
mhm.
start with this headline this morning from the Vanguard newspaper. Outrage as vigilantes beat 7 NYC member to death. A Supreme Court member identified as Ben Aguirre has been reportedly beaten to death by members of a vigilante group, local vigilante group in Benue State, Buruku local government area of Benue State. When I saw this headline, I was like, oh my gosh, because we've seen off and on cases of vigilante where where individuals have either been beaten to death or severely beaten to the point of serious injuries. And we thought that this was reducing, but then we've been seeing sightings of these kinds of things off and on. I'll cast our minds back to the case of the Alu 4. I remember I was in Port Harcourt when this happened. I was in Port Harcourt in my uncle's house, and I remember hearing it, and I was so shook because of those 4 young men who were beaten. They were accused of stealing something, and then they were beaten to death. They were students, and in the case of this young man as well, an NYC core member. So Otikpari school, he's serving to probably make a life for himself and a life for his family, and then his life has been cut short by vigilantes. He returned home on holiday, so it was not that he's not a stranger. He was serving in Gombe State, then returns to Benue State, his place of abode, on holiday. They see him, and then he was mistaken as a motorcycle thief. He was trying uh, to tell them, look, I'm not who you're looking for. I'm an NYC student. I just came on holiday to see my family. Boom. He could not even present his ID card. Boom. He was beaten to death. I, I don't know. Like they say, oh, they've been arrested. Oh, kinika kinika. You see, jungle justice is a no-no. Let's just put that out there. As a no-no. Let the courts, let the people in charge of these things, let them handle it. Because now, on one hand, the reason for vigilante activities is because Benue is already a hot spot that we know for terrorist attacks right now. So them getting vigilantes to guard and to safeguard the community, yes, it's a step in the right direction. Yes, it is highly needed. But when you are now attacking innocent citizens because you think people are lying, I mean. But I will let
Well, I really feel that they didn't put the right measures in place. And I say that because the fact still remains that we are not talking about animals here. We are talking about human beings. And before you beat someone to that extent, I mean, it's uncalled for, really. And he mentioned that he's an NYSC, copper in that state. I just feel that they should have listened to him, probably allow him to show a means of identification before they even start, beating him. That would have even at the end of the day, let's assume that, okay, he's still the person they are looking for. The fact that they didn't even give him opportunity to talk, the opportunity to show an ID card, for me, it's really not, it's going against some of the guidelines for even being a vigilante in the first place. We have constantly talked about the fact that when it comes to our security personnel, we always tell them that they should, make sure that they do things within the confines of the law. And so if you are a vigilante now, you are not even a registered security personnel like the other ones that we know in the force, I feel that there should be a lot of caution in as much as you've been given the opportunity to safeguard lives in your community. Then, it's really just for you to understand that not everybody comes, your way that you should treat anyhow. And that's the same thing we tell our security personnel, not talk of a vigilante for that matter. And he's a student. So I feel that they did everything to the extreme. Yes, it's good news that they were caught, but somebody's life has been taken. In his, he has just few weeks, to finish his NYSC service and all that. And then, so what's reasonable justification do you have to the parents of that boy? What do you have to tell them? Mm-hmm. Because this is no longer about maybe we are sorry or anything. Yes, they have to face the full wrath of the law, definitely. Because the report says that they have been arrested and handed over to our security personnel. But I still feel that to actually put an end to all this, we've said it over time. If you are supporting our security personnel, you should know how things are done. There should be supervision of whatever it is that they are doing. It's just like you telling a vigilante to be shooting at people, So if we are trying to, create order, or we feel that, because we don't have enough security personnel, we are asking vigilantes to support them, it doesn't mean that they should misbehave. Somebody's life that has been taken, will it be replaced back? So yes, they will face, of course, the wrath of the law. But then, there should be an end to this so that it doesn't happen over and over again. And you beat someone, you can see that the person is becoming, unconscious. Why continue? Because you want to show your power? I think this is uncalled for. And I don't know how this is going to pan out, but I feel that this is really an error, a big error, coming from these vigilantes. And then they allow people to start saying something against those that will definitely be doing their vigilante jobs well. That's what happens. We've had it before with our security personnel. Before you know it now, you start going through and people, even them, the vigilantes, they are doing the same thing as what they told us not to do. So I feel that the person in question or those in question, I should really face the wrath of the law. And the governor or whoever is coordinating the state, I should ensure that this does not repeat itself. It's really sad. It's really sad.
What would be the step in the right direction? Like, we can't entirely say that vigilantes should be scrapped, because the purpose for them being in existence is to safeguard communities, right? So we can't entirely scrap them. But at the same time, we recognize that, especially in areas like Benue, Kwara, Borno, Kaduna, that are hotspots for terrorism, we recognize that the reason for there's even an increase in vigilantes because they need to also safeguard those communities, because those terrorists come in looking like normal people and then boom, they've caused havoc to those communities. What would be the balance? What would be a regulatory measure would you say, for these kinds of things? Because the young man was said to have wanted to remove his ID card to show them that, look, I'm a student, I'm a core member, I just finished university, maybe you can call my parents or whatever. I don't know what could have happened in that moment, but they kept on beating till the point like he slipped into coma. I don't know what would be the regulatory measure in this kind of instance.
Yes, the regulatory measures should actually be very strict, just as we have it for our security personnel. There's been a lot of orientation with our security personnel to do whatever it is that they're doing with a lot of caution. And they also need to understand that they are dealing with human beings. So no matter what, the first reaction shouldn't be to beat an individual or a citizen of the country. The first reaction shouldn't be to shoot. The first reaction shouldn't be to take laws into your hands. If you are trying to protect people, that doesn't mean that you should lord it over them or try to, misbehave because you feel that you have been given that permission or their authority to protect those in that community. We tell our security personnel this. So it's not something that we can say, oh, let those doing vigilante be treated mildly. No, we are talking about people and their lives here. So if anything goes wrong, it comes back to the fact that the situation was not handled properly. I saw in the report where it was stated that they have stopped the operation of vigilante groups in that Buruku too, I think Buruku, and disbanded them. Yes. And so that if they are coming back, proper measures will be put in place. This is something they should have done. This is something that they should have, part of their orientation before you allow any vigilante group to come into existence. These are things that you should put in place. I remember when we had some vigilante, or is it OPC, in some of the Southwest states. It was well coordinated because at some point you find out that they even mentioned it in the news so that people are aware that, oh, we now have vigilantes in so Southwest states. We now have OPC, operating, and this goes on like that because they want people to be aware of their operations. It wasn't something that was done in secret, and there was a lot of training done because I remember a lot of people were recruited during that security measures that was being put in place. I remember about, I think, Ogun, Oshun, Ondo, I think most of the Southwest states, and it was in the news, so it wasn't something that was done in the secret. And I feel that at that point too, a lot of guidelines, a lot of rules, were put in place to ensure that for the fact that you are supporting our security personnel doesn't mean that you should put laws in your hands. Absolutely. And this is what they should have done. And just as you said, this is already a volatile, state. And so I don't think we need any loss of lives again. So whatever will be done to protect the people should be done with caution. And they are supposed to take responsibility for whatever it is they're going to do there or whatever anybody is involved in. We can't say, oh, the police should do whatever or whatever. But the fact remains that even if they are supporting our security personnel, things should be done the right way. They should follow the rules of law. That's just it. Not overdo things or, make it look as if, oh, even though you are protecting people, you now start lording or using excessive power over people. He was, at the end of the day, it was confirmed that the boy is an NYSC cover. So what are we even saying in the first place? Before you can even start beating somebody, you should check if the person is responsible or not. And that's why we say anywhere you are going, because of what is happening, especially in those volatile areas, make sure you have an ID card to show that, oh, this is where you are coming from, or this is who you are. So I feel that a lot of things were not put in place before setting these vigilante groups up. And I feel that the state governor should take responsibility for that, as well as those that are coordinating them. It's really absurd that you have such incident that happen, even though we know that that place is a volatile area.
Oh, boy. Anyway, the phone lines are now open: 07000 917 09155 Those are the numbers to call this morning to get to. We want to hear your thoughts, maybe on the headlines or maybe on what we've been discussing so far. This vigilante, a young copper was killed in Benue State because vigilantes thought he was a motorcycle thief. Okay, we're going to move to the next headline, and this one is from the Premium Times newspaper. You're still tuned to Women Radio 91.7 FM. This is the Daily News Review program. We have our analyst Atiku here, and right about now the time is 5 minutes to 8. All right. Let's get into this one. Reps fast track passage of a special seats bill for women amid narrowing electoral window. As a woman and as someone who is highly vested in, women and then the special seats bill, it's been rather discouraging, even for us at Women Radio, that this bill hasn't been passed. We really, really thought it was going to be passed last year. It was in the case of moving the date. Right now, there's no even date in sight. But Jesse Onua Kalusi, a lawmaker from ADC in Lagos, had said, look, we need to pass this bill so that we don't exclude women from politics, so that we have representation in politics before the window is closed, right? And he's saying that, look, this is something that we need to get into, because the representation of women in office is right now below 5%, which is one of the lowest globally, a whole us giant of Africa, right? And he went on to say that this persistent underrepresentation constitutes a fundamental democratic deficit. And so we are, like, at this point, what we've been talking about this, we've been pushing this at Women Radio for the longest, as long as I can remember. And we're hoping that this is passed in the 10th National Assembly. But if this doesn't happen, it's going to set us back. Like, we're just going to be set back, really. But Adeton, what are your thoughts on this? Because I am about tired that we've been moving this. And why this is important is that the party primaries, like the window of the party primaries is between the 23rd of April and the 30th of May. Today is 24, which means that if this isn't passed, what happens to us? What happens to the special seats bill? What happens to women representation? What happens to inclusion, right, in Nigerian politics? But yes, I'm just going to let you go into it, Editor.
Well, let me even start from what might be the consequences of this, apart from the fact that we have seen over time the benefits. We've talked about we want to come down to improving gender representation and all that, but some of the consequences I am looking at is that over time we've had lots of women in large numbers coming out en masse to vote during the election. It has been consistent like that.
Yeah.
So you really have less situation, or let me say less scenarios where you have more men come out. It has always been more women. So if we don't pass this bill, I'm looking at what will happen during election. It means that we are saying all those women that will be going out, if they will be going out, the way they have been coming out en masse, will not have the opportunity to vote for women during the election. And when they don't have the opportunity to vote for women, it means that they will have to pick from the men, candidates that have from, of course, male gender, rather than having more women that they would, have been able to vote for. Another thing will be, this will serve as a discouragement for many women that want to go out to vote. Why? Because we have gone past the age of women are not supporting each other. No, we have gone past that. As some people will say, our mumu don't do it, it don't end. So it's no longer, because women have a larger population when it comes to election time. So when they come out en masse, they are voting for the men, or that when they come out en masse, they won't vote for women like themselves. They're saying that there's a lot of shortfalls when we don't have more women, as representatives in all the spheres of governance. So the consequences will be that we are not just going to have women go out. Women will be disadvantaged from voting for women, because what we are saying is that this bill is meant to push a lot of women into participation in politics, in governance. And then when there are more out there during election, we have a lot of options to pick. from voting for women. We have a lot of candidates that will be pushed there so that we women can come out and vote for them. So we will be able to make a lot of choice with lots of women. But when we don't have this bill passed, it's not just about representation. It's also about that it's going to affect a lot of women that are coming out to vote, and women having choices to vote for more women that are supposed to be on different platforms. Another issue will be that when you look at, I think most of the women in the rural areas, they come out en masse to vote, for women. They even come out en masse to contribute for women, on different platforms. They don't want to know whether it's this party or that party. They are more concerned now about, let me just go and vote for a woman and be assured that she will serve us well. So the orientation is changing. We are having a new narrative where women are now conscious that it's true, when I vote for a woman, I will have a good representation at different levels. We are talking about healthcare. Who understands healthcare more than women? We are talking about education. The first school in the home is by the mothers. So who understands education more than women? When you talk about agriculture, who understands agriculture more than women? We are talking about even the politicians themselves. When you put a woman in a position, at the end of the day, she's thinking not just for herself, she's thinking about children. She's thinking about a whole lot of generation. Most of them are not that selfish because they are women and because they know that the opportunity they have to be there, they have to make a statement. They have to change the narrative. They have to turn around, develop, and so I'm hoping that this bill will be given a lot of attention. Enough of advocacy has been done. We've had international agencies that work with women, that are more about women, giving in their voice, lending their voice that we must have good representation of women. If we can't have everything equal, let's have a larger percentage of women in politics, in representation, in governance, in decision making at all levels. I'm proud to say that we have a lot of women right now in this administration who are doing remarkably well. And we want more of them to come in. But the only way we can have that opportunity is if this bill is passed. And one of the members of the those proposing this, mentioned that we don't want a reoccurrence of where we have anything that has to do with the gender. They postpone or they push it aside. So if you don't do it now, and then during the election, you are now thinking, let's now pass the bill. It doesn't make any sense. So let the awareness start now that this assembly has passed it, and then women begin to think, now that we have that opportunity, and we are not saying we are holding the men out. What are we saying? At least give a seat. If we have in 36 states, every what is it called now? Governorship seats at local government level, even at the federal level, you are giving a woman an opportunity. Let's go back to senatorial districts. A woman is given an opportunity. Let's go back down, to the three arms of government: legislature, executive, and judiciary. A woman is given an opportunity. What are we saying? We are saying better lives for Nigerians, not just for women. And I say that with a lot of confidence, because I know what women can do. We are saying that they are coming not thinking about their selfish needs. They are not coming thinking about, I just want to be there, I just want to take over. They are saying this country must get better. So when you have a woman there, she's not speaking for only herself. She's speaking a voice for everyone. And that is what makes the difference between having a male and a female in position of power. We have seen so many things going on. If I start talking about a lot of things that is going on right now, I'm sure most of us, when we want to wake up and we want to, try and just say, let me have a good day, it turns the other way. Yeah. But when you have a woman there is a way you wake up in the morning and you know that today is going to be a great day. That is what we are talking about. Women in the rural areas will definitely benefit. Those in the urban areas will definitely benefit. There's going to be a shift across board. And that's the way a woman thinks. She's not speaking for only herself. She's speaking to a lot of generation. She's taking everybody along. So I feel that apart from other indices that points to the fact that we need more women in National Assembly, at state level, local level, let's have it at the back of our mind that enough is enough for us to move from the old narrative to the new narrative. Let's have it at the back of our mind that a nation that does not put its women first, not because they do not qualify, but if they do not put their women first in participation in governance, they are actually shooting themselves in the foot. So development must come as inclusive governance, and you can't take women out of that. You can't. So it's important that we know that the regional framework all over the world advocating for increased participation of women in governance, in representation, is a valid point. And that's why you see other nations, making sure that their women are where they are supposed to be. And they give them enough opportunity to explore their talent, their knowledge and everything, just to make sure that life is better for everyone, not just for themselves now. And that is what happens when we have women in politics and in governance. I was just looking at the convention of the elimination of all forms of discrimination. Who best, when we even go down to judiciary level, who best can give the right judgment when it comes to elimination of violence, of all forms of discrimination, if not a woman who understands what it means for a woman to be harassed, abused domestically and otherwise? A woman will understand that. And she will be able to put the right policy in place on behalf of women. And when you kill a woman or you brutally harass a woman, you are affecting a generation. You are affecting the children, that she's leaving behind. Who's going to take care of them? Yeah. When anything happens in Nigeria, the men, they will even those that cannot run 100 meters, you will see them running 100 meters. But a woman will carry as many children as she can on her shoulder, on her head, on her back, because she's thinking of the future of those generations. That is how women are when it comes to politics and governance. And on that decision table, she makes that decision for everybody to benefit, not just for ourselves. And that's why we say as much as possible to those political parties who are not giving opportunities to women to strive, to make their contribution in governance, they should start rethinking their decision in 2027. We are going to make sure that those political parties begin to put women as a priority, not just as women leaders. They will participate, they will contribute, and at that decision table, women should be there. Even if you are saying you are the chairman of a political party, a woman must also be there making decisions on behalf of women in that political party, so that we can have enough nomination for women candidates that will be coming out from different political parties. Now, it's not about the two parties that we know. It's not about the rivalry that we are talking about. We are talking about governance here. We are talking about the critical part of ensuring that everyone benefits from democracy. And we need to make governance inclusive. If we can do that, then we would have made a mark in this year's election. Not just that, we would have given enough room for women to be represented, women to be voted for, women to go out and vote for other women, and women to understand that their voices matters when it comes to decision making and governance in Nigeria. That is the way to move governance forward. That is the way to move democracy forward. And as many women that are listening, we need to change the narrative. It's not just about women radio. It's not just about women who are groups who have come out to say we want more women. It concerns every single one of us. You are a trader, you are a businesswoman, you are at the top of your board, you are in schools, you are in the healthcare centers or hospitals. There is need for us to fight and to begin to advocate that we want more women in those positions. If not, we will keep on going round and round in a circle. And it doesn't mean that we are putting the men aside. We are just saying we need our voices to be heard so that things can get better than what it is right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I mean, you nailed the head on everything. I remember there was an example that Emmanuel used to give about how Minister of Women Affairs used to be a man. Until now, every time I think about it, I still cannot wrap my head around it. We're talking about issues that affect women, periods, health, PCOS, fibroids, breast cancer, fertility, conception. The issues that affect women there are so much. Every time we have Radio Doctor during the week on Tuesdays, especially when we have the ones just for women, I'm always asking the doctors. I ask them, what's the way forward for women health-wise, right? And even them as doctors who are very, very pro-women, they can't find solutions because that's just how it is. How much more issues affecting women beyond health, education, FGM, things like that, and fighting for the girl child, because in the north we see a lot of times when young girls are being married off. Who's going to fight for those kind of issues better than a woman? So yeah, well said, well said. The phone lines are open, like I mentioned earlier. 07000, beg your pardon, 917 09155 917 917. Those are the numbers to call. You can send your message to 0703 1756 or 08155 917 917. Let's take these messages. What is the essence of removing fuel subsidy if he borrowed money to fix electricity once and forever? It would sound reasonable, but he's borrowing money to construct, new 1,000 kilometer of road that he can never finish. The existing roads are very bad. Kidnappers lay siege on the roads, because the roads are bad. Provided that Akpabio remains the Senate president, Tinubu doesn't need approval from the Senate before taking any loan, says Olusoga Ajayi from Odunla Ikorodu. Next up, we have Morning to You in the studio on the borrowing by the federal government. I think the borrowing is not bad, but it must be used judiciously. Even all these advanced countries always borrow for infrastructure, like this Sokoto Badagry Expressway, as first inaugurated by the government of Alhaji Shehu Shagari in 1979. And since then, nothing has been done on the road. So if President Tinubu asks the National Assembly to approve loan for this road, it is a good idea, but the National Assembly must ensure the loan is judiciously used for the road. I can tell you all that this government is doing well on concrete road construction. Let me mention a few concrete roads that are going on. Interchange Ewekoro Road in Ogun State, Ekpe Ijebu-Ode Road, Ijebu-Ode Ore Road, Ekpe Eleko Ijebu-Ode Road completed, East-West Road ongoing, Lagos Calabar Coastal Road. All these roads are concrete, so the loan is not bad, but must be judiciously used from additional Wasiu in Ikorodu. I mean, these two comments are saying conflicting things. Olusoga Ajayi says, look, what are we borrowing money for? Additionally saying, well, we're not the first people to be borrowing money, so let's borrow money. Next up, Adeton would respond in a bit. Good morning, ladies. Happy Friday to the listening audience. Profound gratitude for today's analysis on the newspaper review. Thanks for nailing the conversation. I'm alarmed and disheartened that at this point in our lives, and even in our political sphere, this bill that received so much attention has still not been passed till now. Haba, are these people saying we are bereft of women who can't hold their own in politics and governance? Only a woman can move the tide to change things from her own perspective as she sees it from her own lens. This is not a gender war or any form of competition, but all we are clamoring for is to have women in political spaces advocating for women, men, and their children. Look at how other claims are growing because of active female participation. And here we are dilly-dallying on the reserved seats bill for women. It's a shame, honestly. That is from Mrs. Oboli in Ikorodu. Thank you so much. Adeton, do you want to respond to this loan, this $516 million loan that the president is asking for this Sokoto Badagry Highway?
Even if we have to borrow loans to construct roads, let's ensure that people are really comfortable, because you said it, borrowing. Can we see the effect of the borrowing, not just on roads? Do we have people that can afford 1 square meal comfortably? The situation in the country all around economically is affecting a lot of people. And so it's not just about borrowing for, building or constructing roads. Let that money that is being borrowed, let it be justified. Yeah. And then we can't continue borrowing and say, oh, because there's opportunity to borrow, we are borrowing, we are going in debt. And still the country economically is not flourishing. Then there's a problem. So it must be balanced. If you are borrowing, let it be for the right cause. If you are borrowing, let's see the benefit. If you are borrowing, does not mean that people should still go hungry. Let the situation change. They are giving out this money not because they want to continue to construct roads. They know that the poverty in Nigeria is much. That's why the fact that they tell us that we are a blessed country, we are a rich country, they see what our politicians do with our money. But is it justified? Can people boldly say that those monies that are being borrowed is really making a shift economically for the people? Why will you be building roads and people are hungry? It should make sense. It should be balanced. That's what we are saying. And we can't continue to run in debt all because we want to borrow. We must get to a level whereby whatever we have, we should think out of the box and make good use of it. You can't continue to see corruption going deep and deep, and people are borrowing. Corruption is there, you are borrowing. Corruption is there, you are borrowing. What are we saying? It looks as if we are a foolish nation. So let's look at those countries that are borrowed. What did they do with the money that was borrowed? Is their economic situation changing? That's the whole essence why most of these countries are able to save up, come together, give a particular nation some amount of loan. They have done well with their own funds. They can save and then say, let's give to another nation, so that that same nation can follow in our footsteps and then be stabilized economically. Are we saying there are no good roads in Nigeria? Are we saying that this is the time to start constructing roads when people are hungry? Those lives that are in this country that will fly those roads, have they fed themselves well? The economic situation, has it been favorable for everyone? So when we are borrowing, we should make a balance of it. People cannot be going hungry. You are borrowing, corruption is there, despite what you are doing. It's not reflecting largely on a lot of the populace. Then there's a problem somewhere. Where is that money going? We need to put an end to some of these things and think critically that these countries that are giving us money, they're not just giving us because they feel they have a lot of it. If you go to those countries, you will see how they have developed. You will see the economic situation in those countries. That's why you have categories of developing nations, developed nations, underdeveloped nations. See, Nigeria has come of age. Even though we mark independence, it's as if we are not growing as a nation, not just with the numbers, but in intelligence and in making sure that what we have, some countries don't have half of what Nigeria has. And look at what they are making out of themselves. Some nations don't borrow, but look at the way their country have turned out. What is in Nigeria is that there's a lot of greediness and selfishness when it comes to governance and politics. That's why we can't make good use of what we have. As leaders, you need to set example. You can't be, leading.
We have a call. Sorry to cut you. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam. Good morning, madam.
Good morning, Evangelist Dixon.
I quite agree with what you are saying. Everything you have said. I don't know why that woman girl by now. I don't know. But we need to balance it off. It's actually I don't think that even there's a person that I don't think it will be able to run well. So when I'm talking about movement, and I have to that is selfless, that we go there and there will be change in everything we are doing. So movement are corrupt or this thing. These are good men who great and the sure that they'll be able to do the right thing. It's that Nigeria will get things to be placed. I saw how you are saying, we are not happy. Having too many of suffering for plenty. That's rightly so. It's good to borrow. The money, no accountability.
No accountability.
Now, you should be held accountable. If they borrow 2 billion of that money, I just like that. You should tell the court to do another. And that is the corruption everywhere. Keep on borrowing. People are getting it. Now that the election is coming up, have you done well? Now it's done that. So far you get there, and if you don't give us 1,000, 2,000, you're not going to vote. You come back and start blaming to blame about it. So we don't know. We don't have the we only continue evil. If you don't do the wrong thing, please don't go to here. Let us do the right thing. The moment the center here. Nigeria was one of Nigeria not completely that it's supposed to start out to For them to see what happened. I believe Nigeria today, to do the right thing, the care of God. But Nigeria was not like this. God bless Nigeria, and God be gracious. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. I mean, everything, accountability is what is really lacking. And like, I think it was Olusoga Ajayi that said that some of these roads are bad and they've not been repaired. Some of these roads are bad. There's nothing going on. If you see a pothole, if you start seeing a hole on the road right now on your street, just wait a bit. It would start increasing and nobody is doing anything. Nobody's saying anything about it. And I think that's what the worry is, the lack of accountability on the part of, you know, our politicians, our governors, our leaders. Is just very, very heartbreaking, to be honest. Yeah, I want us to quickly touch on this one before we go. OAU student dies after chest pain before examination. So this student from Obafemi Awolowo University, Emmanuel Adewale, a Part 4 medical student, he died just as he was about to write his exam. He reportedly complained of chest pain. And if you recall, last week or 2 weeks ago, another student in Covenant University also slumped on the football field. And it makes me worry a bit, because I'm wondering that are students putting so much pressure on themselves to pass? We've always seen that students put pressure on themselves. Are they putting undue pressure on themselves to pass, that they are neglecting their health?
I don't really think it's that. I think the first thing would be compulsorily. It would be good if in every university or higher institution that we have, it would be good to have students do a checkup. And you know, from the report, I saw that it was alleged, you know, that he actually was complaining of chest pain before he got to this stage. Something would have been wrong, you know, somewhere, probably with his system that he didn't observe. But now complaining, you know, prior to the exam means that it has gotten to a level whereby not much could have been done. And so I'm looking at it from the angle of, is it possible that they go for checkups, even with the undue pressure they put on themselves to ensure that they are the right frame of mind? Even I've had instances that I think at some point during examination, the tension builds up and all that. Some students cannot handle it. Some can, you know, really wave it out after some time. You know, you get to the exam, or you are jittery because, you feel, I'm in final year, you know, I must pass and all that. But I feel that now that we are having issues with students' health and all that, at such young age, you don't expect that things like that should be happening. So before their health deteriorates to this level, it would be good that at such institutions or tertiary institutions, they should ensure that there's proper medical checkup. It's not just about student paying school fees that should bother the university or the institution. Even at that point of registration, they could make it compulsory. Go and have a checkup, and let's see that, you've done a checkup, satisfied, you know, approved and all that. So that at some point we can avoid this, because before they even take the person to the hospital or try to resuscitate him, lives would have gone. And before they inform the parents, a lot of things will be going on in the minds of the parents. So when you even notice any sign of maybe discomfort with your child, you should be able to attend to it even before he or she goes back to the school. At the same time, parents will also note that, don't just say, my child is going back to school and all is well because you have paid school fees. Ensure that the mental state of that child is on point. Ensure that child has gone through some medical, you know, tests or, you know, examinations, even before resuming back to school. So you know that you are rest assured that, some measures have been put in place, so that if anything happens, you also know beforehand that, I'm supposed to check on my child at so interval or at so point. We might say that, once they're in the university, you should just leave them on their own. I'm sure that has gone back. we should know that health is very important when it comes to a child you are paying so much for. So you should check up on that child. And another thing is that the school, you know, also have a responsibility to ensure that students are at, you know, the health level that they can also say that, students are, you know, the students, their mental health or everything about them is okay before they go for the examination. It's really sad. I think part 4, or is it part 5? Yes, part 4 students, at the College of Health Science. I mean, this is really sad. So it's really a caution. Before your child goes to school, please let them have a proper checkup. If they don't do it in the school, do it at home before they get back to school. I think we should really be able to make use of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Adetone. Today's program was I really loved the direction we went this time around. And thank you so much for your objectivity, for your, your contribution, everything you said, your balanced take as well. You're not the one to just tilt to one way. There's always balance when you give contributions. Thank you so much for being a part of today's program. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you same time next week.
And the network service provider, they didn't push me out today. I'm sure they are afraid I will come for them.
Yes. All right, this is Good Women Radio 91.7. We've come to the end of the Full Breakfast Show. Many thanks to Rachel and Josephine, Ben, Michael for producing me this morning. 9 o'clock is the news, 9:05 is her lens. Do well to enjoy your day and still stick around with us because we have even other shows for you this morning. Catch you same time Monday for another edition of the Daily News Review on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Fumi Bangala. Bye for now.